Hello everybody, it's me Faith. In this video I wanted to discuss ikatazo. Ikatazo is a psychoactive plant. Psychoactive plants are plants that have a hallucinogenic effect, meaning when a person ingests, smokes, or sniffs this type of plant, the plant alters the person's mental, emotional, intellectual, and behavioral state. Psychoactive plants are often used by traditional healers for diagnosing and healing illnesses. They're also used for divination and for various ancestral rituals and worship. These types of plants can also be used for sorcery or witchcraft. Different people use these types of plants for different reasons. For example, some Rastafarians will mix psychoactive plants with weed to increase the hallucinogenic potency of weed. Weed is already a psychoactive plant, but it's a weak psychoactive plant, so it is usually mixed with other psychoactive plants to increase its hallucinogenic potency. You also have certain groups of people, like the Ndembu people in Zambia, who use psychoactive plants during exorcism rituals. They make an infusion with different types of psychoactive plants and they drink the infusion in order to see ihamba. Ihamba is a type of spirit. There are different types of psychoactive plants. Some are more potent or effective than others. When a psychoactive plant is too strong, it may cause something called an entoptic phenomenon. An entoptic phenomenon is when you start seeing things from inside the eye or from inside the brain. So, in normal human visual, the eye sees the object, such as a car, from outside the eye. How this works is that the light will bounce off an image, and the image of the object will enter the eye and then go to the brain. The brain then processes the image of the object by comparing it to all the other objects in the brain and then let you know that what you're looking at is a car. That's how normal human vision works. With the entoptic phenomenon, the image does not come from outside the eye. The image comes from either inside the eye or from the brain. It still gets processed like the image from outside the eye, but does not come from outside the eye. It comes from inside the eye. And the entoptic phenomenon has been used by scientists to explain how certain people are able to see things that other people cannot see. Because unlike with the first one, with the normal human vision, where you see a car, other people can also see the same car that you're looking at. But when the image comes from inside the eye or inside the brain, then other people cannot see what you're looking at. So scientists have used the entoptic phenomenon to explain how certain people can see things that other people cannot, like how other people can see ghosts, also have visions. There are a number of factors that affect the potency and effectiveness of psychoactive plants, namely the dosage consumed. Some plants are more effective in smaller doses, while others are more effective in higher doses. The number of times the plant is consumed. Some psychoactive plants become less effective over time. So it's kind of like a drug. Some drugs are more potent when you start using them, and then over time they lose their effectiveness. I think all drugs are like that. The other factor is whether the plant is used on its own or in a mixture. Some hallucinogenic plants or psychoactive plants are more effective when used alone, while some are more effective when used in a mixture with other psychoactive plants. The last factor is the other plants that are in the mixture. So when you mix different types of psychoactive plants, the mixture might become more potent, but the increase in potency will depend on which type of plants you use. Ikatazo, as mentioned, is a psychoactive plant and it is scientifically known as Alepidea amatymbica. The genus name Alepidea means without a scale. I'm not exactly sure what this means, but since scales are insects that eat the sap in some plants, I'm guessing without a scale means that this plant is without the sap eating insects. The species name amatymbica was given in honor of Abatembu or the Tamboki Mensa in Afrikaans. These were Xhosa speaking people whose territory was historically known as Tembuland. This is the former Transkei, now in the Eastern Cape. Tembuland is where this plant occurs, and I'm guessing was first collected. Ikhathazo is a herb that grows up to 2 meters in height. Some plants like ikatazo have an underground stem or a rootstock known as a rhizome. The rhizome of this plant has a pleasant aromatic odor when fresh and contains resin. Ikatazo is endemic to Africa and can be found growing in the grassland and near streams. In South Africa, this plant can be found growing in the Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KZN, Limpopo, and the Mpumalanga province. The most preferred part of this plant are the root and rhizome. The harvesting of the root and rhizome results in the death of the plant because, in general, the plant needs roots to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. Additionally, this plant is extremely popular and highly sought after for its medical and spiritual uses. The high demand for this plant has resulted in overexploitation of the wild population, and it is now an endangered species with a protected conservation status. The population of this species is also dwindling as a result of the steady decline of the species' habitat due to crop farming and timber plantations. This problem is not just in South Africa. So overexploitation also affects other countries like Lesotho, where plants like ikatazo are now regarded as vulnerable due to unsustainable use. With regards to the medical properties of this plant, studies on the extract of ikatazo have reported antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antifungal, antihelmintic, antimalarial, antiviral, antihypertensive, and antiplasmodial activities. Phytochemicals are chemicals that are produced by plants to help the plant fight against things like fungi, bacteria, viruses, and other attacks from insects. The phytochemicals that have been identified in the root and rhizome of this plant include alkaloids, flavonoids, phenols, proanthocyanidin, tannins, and saponins. When it comes to the uses of this plant, the leaves are used for culinary purposes, while the roots and rhizomes are used for medicinal and spiritual purposes. The young leaves are collected from the wild and used to cook a vegetable relish known as ikokwana by Zulu people. The roots and rhizomes are used by traditional healers to treat a sore throat, asthma, colds, chest pains, influenza, gastrointestinal complaints, rheumatism, fever, headaches, and bleeding wounds. Due to the different activities such as antiviral activities and the phytochemicals that are present in the plant, this plant is used in the therapy of infections that affect the human immune system, such as HIV. The roots are used to make herbal tonics and as an insect repellent, especially in Zimbabwe, where the roots and rhizomes are used to repel bees. This plant is used by traditional healer initiates and novices to induce lucid and vivid dreaming. Lucid and vivid dreaming are important to healers and diviners because they assist them with diagnosing and healing illnesses, divination, and various ancestral rituals and worship. The rhizomes are believed to be a lucky and protective charm, hence, some traditional healers use the rhizomes to wash the mediums they use for divination. For example, they use the rhizome to wash the bones that they use for divination. Some traditional healers use the rhizome in lotion, so they'll make the rhizome into a powder and then add it to their lotion for protection and luck. The plant is prepared in a number of ways to treat various conditions, ailments, and diseases. The following will list some of the simplest preparation methods. To induce vivid and lucid dreaming, first dry the roots and rhizomes, then ground them to fine powder, and take the powder as you would a snuff. So you inhale it through the nose. For those that don't like to sniff the powder through their nose, they can burn either the powder or the dried roots and rhizome in their original form. So you take the original root and rhizome, you dry it, and then you burn it, and then you inhale the smoke. It will have the same effect as sniffing the powder. So sniffing and smoking the roots and rhizome can also have a sedation effect. So it can sedate the person sniffing and smoking. That's why in some cases the powder as well as the smoke, they are used to reduce stress and anxiety. To treat colds, flus, and chest pains, you can chew or suck the root and rhizome of the plant. Colds, flus, and chest pains can also be treated by first drying the root and rhizome, then grounding it to fine powder, and taking 1 teaspoon of the powder, adding it to hot water, and adding honey, and then taking the infusion orally as tea. A less concentrated version of the infusion and without the honey can be used to treat coryza in children. To repel bees, you can burn the powder of the roots and rhizome and then blow the smoke into the beehive. To treat stomach and abdominal pains, you boil 1 liter of water and add 1 spoon of the powdered roots and rhizome, and then allow the decoction to boil for about 5 minutes. Then you can consume like half a cup 3 times a day to treat stomach and abdominal pains. Stomach pains can also be treated by taking an infusion of the roots of ikhathazo and then mixing that with ugobo, scientifically known as Gunera pepensa, and then you consume the infusion as you would tea. To treat asthma, the roots and rhizomes are infused with cannabis sativa. This is weed or insangu. The infusion is then taken orally as tea. Lastly, the roots of ikatazo are one of the 5 ingredients used in the sejeso herbal mixture. So sejeso is used as a tonic for stomach pains, cramps, and indigestions. The high demand, dwindling population, as well as the protected conservation status make this plant a good candidate for small scale farming. This is a viable option for anyone with a bit of vacant land or unused land. All the plants that are in high demand with a conservation status that is either vulnerable or in danger of extinction are actually good candidates for small scale farming. The small scale farming of these plants is a good way to generate income, create employment, maintain or increase the market supply of these plants, as well as to conserve the useful medicinal plants that are going extinct. The demand for traditional medicine is always going to be high. It might even go higher in the future because you have people who generally prefer to use homemade remedies. And because good healthcare is so expensive, especially in this country, you'll always have people who use traditional medicine as their source of healthcare because modern healthcare is just so expensive and unaffordable to most people. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Have a blessed weekend and bye.